A young female soldier vanished after a night out, leaving behind only one final text message and countless unanswered questions.
We never gave up on her, and I love her more than anything. And that bringing her home was something I promised her I would do, and I would never let her down.
No witnesses, no body, no answers. As the case grew cold and police nearly gave up the search, one private investigator did not, and ultimately uncovered the truth, using methods that were quite unconventional. Kelly Bordeaux was born in December 1988. She grew up in sunny St. Cloud, Florida. It might sound unusual to say this about a young woman, but Kelly dreamed of serving in the military. She enlisted at the age of 22, in the year 2011. After completing basic training, she was sent to North Carolina to train as a medic. She was assigned to the 601st Area Support Medical Company.
She was a medic with the 601st Brigade out of Fort Bragg. Being a combat medic was natural for Kelly because she loved helping people.
She genuinely loved her job and planned to pursue a long-term military career. That fact makes this mystery even more compelling because Kelly was far from the stereotypical soldier. In high school, she had been a cheerleader and a homecoming queen. With her striking looks, she constantly attracted attention from young men, so much so that her brother and sister often had to step in to chase them away.
Boys were like trying to flirt with her. Oh, they'd pick her up and I'd just look at them and they knew, put her down, like don't touch her again.
Kelly's outgoing, fun-loving personality made her one of the most popular girls in her hometown of St. Cloud, Florida. Before joining the Army, in the year 2010, Kelly married a man named Mike Bordeaux in St. Cloud. They were both around 20 years old at the time. Together, they settled into an apartment just outside the military base where Kelly was stationed. But married life was far from easy. Only 3 months after the wedding, the first major cracks appeared in their young marriage. Mike struggled to find a job. He had no steady income and began drinking heavily, day after day, with little concern for the future.
I am a big alcoholic. I was really bad.
The marriage grew increasingly strained under the pressure, and eventually, Kelly made the difficult decision to separate from him. Mike returned alone to Florida, while Kelly stayed behind in Fayetteville completely on her own, knowing no one there except her fellow soldiers at Fort Bragg. But Kelly's personal life was about to become far more complicated and deeply tangled. For nearly a year during the separation, Kelly secretly carried on an affair with a man named Justin Thompson, a friend she had known since her days in St. Cloud, Florida, before joining the military. Justin treated Kelly with respect and gave her space when she wanted to try to salvage her marriage. He even planned to move to North Carolina to be with her, since he was still living in Florida at the time. According to Kelly's sister, Olivia, Kelly cared deeply for Justin. She eventually decided to divorce Mike, who had no idea that his estranged wife was involved with another man.
I think the plan was eventually, like once she was officially on paper divorced, is Justin come and be there and see what the relationship can turn into.
In April of 2012, Justin flew to North Carolina to check out the area and discuss moving in together with Kelly. One evening, while out together, they stopped by a casual local bar called Froggy Bottoms. They had a few drinks and chatted with locals. A few days later, Justin returned to Florida to pack his belongings and prepare for the move. He told Kelly he would be back in 2 weeks. While Justin was in Florida getting ready, on the night of Friday, April 13th, Kelly Bordeaux felt the urge to go out. After a long, exhausting week working at Fort Bragg, she decided to head back to Froggy Bottoms for a few drinks. She planned to go alone. Before leaving, she sent a selfie to her sister.
Right before she went out, she just said, "Hey, does this look okay?" and sent me a picture of her. And I was like, "Yeah, you look cute."
Tragically, that photo would become the very last image ever taken of Kelly. Throughout the night, Kelly continued texting Justin. Then, at 1:30 a.m., she sent him a final message. "I got home safe. I'm going to sleep now. I'm tired and drunk. Call me tomorrow." And that was truly the last time anyone ever heard from Kelly Bordeaux. When Justin read the message, something immediately felt off. Why would Kelly specifically say she got home safe, unless she hadn't actually made it home safely? He called her again and again throughout the weekend, but there was no response. Kelly's silence sent Justin into a state of growing panic fear, and dread.
It was so weird. She just like the text message before that was, "Hey, call me, call me, call me."
Eventually, he contacted Kelly's family. When Kelly failed to report for duty at Fort Bragg on Monday morning, and there was no sign of her at her apartment, both her family and the military became deeply concerned. Justin contacted the Fayetteville Police Department to report Kelly missing. Kelly's fellow soldiers, along with police officers, searched her apartment. That was when the truth became clear. Kelly had never returned home that night. Only then was Kelly Bordeaux officially classified as a missing person. Authorities notified her family immediately. They flew to North Carolina without delay, including her estranged husband, Mike Bordeaux. A massive search operation began, but it felt as though Kelly had simply vanished without a trace. Police quickly focused their investigation on those closest to Kelly, especially her estranged husband, Mike Bordeaux. Appearing on television, visibly distraught, he pleaded, "Please let her come home."
I just want her home, and I want her safe.
He described himself as a devoted husband and claimed that he had not seen Kelly for 10 days before her disappearance. Despite rumors that he had moved out, Mike denied any separation, insisting he had only gone to Florida to visit his father. "We're married, we're not divorced, we're together, we love each other," he said. However, he also admitted to investigators that their relationship was troubled and that Kelly appeared to want a divorce. Clearly, she had begun moving on something Mike did not take well. Mike quickly became the #1 suspect, even though he insisted that he was in Florida on the day Kelly disappeared. He provided police with a verified alibi, proving that he was at his home in St. Cloud, Florida, hundreds of miles away from Fayetteville, North Carolina, when his wife vanished. And as in many cases, suspicion also fell on the jealous partner. Justin Thompson, Kelly's boyfriend, soon found himself under police scrutiny as well. As the days passed, like in most missing person cases, the chances of finding Kelly alive grew smaller and smaller. At this point, both Justin and Mike had been confirmed to be in Florida when Kelly was last seen alive, so neither of them could be responsible. Then Justin told police a detail that caught their attention. 1 week before Kelly disappeared, when Justin was in Fayetteville, the two of them had gone to Froggy Bottoms and met a bartender there. They spent most of the night talking with him. The bartender's name was Nicholas Holbert. He sat drinking and chatting with them for a large portion of the evening, and Justin said he found him a little strange. Nicholas asked for Kelly's phone number, and not long after that, Justin and Kelly left. Justin then told police that on the night Kelly was last seen, when she went back to the bar alone, she accepted a ride from Nicholas. Witnesses confirmed that Kelly had been at the bar she was seen drinking, playing pool, and texting Justin, or possibly someone else was texting on her phone. Investigators decided to speak with Nicholas. What they discovered was troubling. Nicholas was living in extremely poor conditions, essentially camping out behind the bar, in the woods, sleeping in his vehicle, almost like a makeshift shelter. When police brought him in for formal questioning, he was fairly cooperative.
Since Friday night, no contact with her whatsoever. You don't know where she's at. Well, what do you know about her?
Nothing really for like 6 hours altogether.
Down in the car, I need to know about that.
No, I did not.
Not even touched her.
No.
He even appeared on television saying, "I'm heartbroken too. She seemed like a good person."
Around 1:30, she told me, she's like, "I'm tired, I want to go home." I said, "Okay," so we got in the car, and as soon as I pulled into Meadowbrook, she said, "You can stop right here and let me out, I'll walk."
But the level of concern surrounding him only increased. Not only was Nicholas the last person known to have seen Kelly alive, he was also a registered sex offender, convicted in a case involving a 5-year-old victim, and had served 5 years in prison. Only 5 years. Despite being the top suspect, police still had no hard evidence. Nothing beyond the feeling that he looked like the kind of guy who could have done it. However, investigators discovered that Nicholas had failed to properly register an address as required for sex offenders, since he had no permanent residence. That gave police a reason to arrest him, hoping they could apply pressure and see if he would reveal something while in custody. They questioned him repeatedly. Still, nothing came out of it. Eventually, Nicholas stopped cooperating altogether. Day by day, week by week, the search for Kelly grew colder. A reward of $25,000 was offered, but it led nowhere. What police did not know was that someone else had been paying close attention to Kelly Bordeaux's disappearance ever since seeing it on television, a private investigator named David Marshburn. Month after month, spring turned to summer, and summer into fall. Long after everyone else had given up, David was still there alone, searching the forests of North Carolina for Kelly. No one knew. Not the police, not the family. When David saw Nicholas Holbert's interview on television, he knew Nicholas was lying.
I actually happened to see Nick Holbert on TV doing his interview on Kelly Bordeaux.
He believed Nicholas was involved in what had happened and suspected that once Nicholas was released from jail, he could get more information out of him than the police ever could. David Marshburn believed Kelly had been buried somewhere in the woods near Froggy Bottoms, but the forest was vast. He searched for months with an assistant and a dog. In the year 2013, Nicholas was released from jail. And who was waiting for him? David Marshburn. Nice to meet you. David contacted Nicholas on the very day he was released.
I had to be his best friend. I had to be a good friend to him. When he answered the door, I said, Nick, I'm David Marshburn. I'm a PI. I'd like to talk to you about Kelly. I don't believe you done it.
And asked for his help. I'm looking for her. I need your help. I don't think you did anything to her, but if you help me find her, it'll clear your name. Nicholas agreed. Over the next several months, a dream friendship began to form, at least on the surface. David hoped Nicholas would eventually confess, but Nicholas was not easy to crack. David applied constant pressure in subtle ways, giving him small jobs, handing him cash, buying him beer, buying him cigarettes, driving him wherever he needed to go. At one point, David even showed Nicholas a fake plea deal he had printed in his office, claiming that if Nicholas confessed to involuntary manslaughter, assuming he had been involved, he would only serve a few years in prison, light as a feather. And propris. I clated, rovid dated. The document was completely fake. It even included a judge's signature, just an F, just in case. But Nicholas did not fall for it. Still, Nicholas's hesitation only strengthened David's belief that he knew where Kelly was buried. David kept playing the long game. In total, he spent more than $40,000 on Nicholas. He even paid to help Nicholas complete his probation, just to keep him from going back to prison where David would lose access to him entirely. In short, David did everything he could to become Nicholas's brother. Over time, the effort took a heavy toll on David. At one point, he even admitted that he had briefly considered torturing Nicholas to get the truth. It wasn't until exactly 2 years after Kelly Bordeaux disappeared that things finally began to surface. David tried a new tactic. He had one of his associates follow Nicholas in a very obvious way, so obvious that Nicholas became paranoid, believing police were watching him. Then David showed him a fake murder indictment. Nicholas panicked. After that, David presented the fake plea deal once again. This time it worked. Nicholas led David into the woods behind Froggy Bottoms. David brought in a trained search dog to the area Nicholas indicated. After 2 long years, police were finally called to the scene. Nicholas finally told the truth about what had happened.
Went and picked her up, went back to the bar, played pool, drank, done karaoke. Everything was going good. He said not he child molester or something like that. So I just snapped and zoned out and hit her. She was dead. I hit her, knocked her out, and I stuck her in the car and took her back to where I stayed at. And, I got scared. I didn't want nowhere to hear her, so I hit her again. And I pulled in here. I went, took her over there and buried her. I left and went back to the bar, stayed at the bar.
David noticed broken branches and overgrown brush that looked exactly like they had been disturbed 2 years earlier. He probed the ground and suddenly, the earth gave way. He called in the dog. The dog alerted. David began digging.
We dig down, and it's still playing.
And what he found is what you are seeing now.
You not only killed her, but you raped her. You're a sick, and you need to be put away forever.
Nicholas Holbert was arrested and later pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. At Holbert's trial, Kelly's family was especially outraged by what he had done to her. Kelly's brother Matt became so angry that the judge ordered him removed from the courtroom. Outside, Matt spoke honestly with local television reporters.
Honestly, what I thought would happen is I would just assault him, so it was a good thing that the judge kicked me out.
Holbert attempted to apologize to Kelly's family.
You and your family probably didn't want to hear anything I had to say.
Kelly's mother, overwhelmed with grief and anger, said in court,
Mr. Holbert, could you look at me for a minute? I don't understand. How you could take a beautiful young girl for pretty much no reason and beat the life right out of her.
Facing the death penalty, Nicholas Holbert pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. All of this was made possible by David Marshburn, a relentless private investigator who single-handedly brought Holbert to justice and solved the mystery of Kelly Bordeaux, while the Fayetteville police had reached a dead end. Marshburn admitted that there were moments when he nearly gave up, but he said he felt a moral obligation to continue for Kelly and for her family.
Every day I was exhausted having to go search for this girl. I was muddy, I was cut, I got sick, I was just fed up with it, I was tired of his games.
This case is truly unusual because it required someone willing to operate outside the lines, using techniques law enforcement could not use, becoming Nicholas's friend for months, applying constant psychological pressure, deceiving him until he finally confessed to the truth. This case reminds us that justice does not always arrive quickly, and sometimes it does not arrive through official channels alone. When systems stalled and hope faded, one man refused to look away. David Marshburn walked into darkness armed with patience, empathy, and relentless resolve. He endured months of frustration, personal sacrifice, and moral strain, choosing persistence over comfort. Because he stayed, a lost soldier was finally found, a family received answers, and a killer faced truth. Kelly Bordeaux mattered, and because one investigator cared enough to keep going, her story did not end in silence. It honors courage always.